So, good afternoon, everyone. Took a lot of trades today, and I'm going to review all of the options trades. I'll review the futures trades after, but I will record these options trades. Here's the context. This was pre-market. This was 1 minute before market open. As you can see, we shot up pretty early in the morning for PCE news or whatever it was. You guys are such needy creatures, aren't you? You can't hear, you need my screen, so on and so forth. Next, you guys are going to need food. All right, there we go. Screen sharing. Everyone can see now. We're good, right? Water. I actually don't have any water. I'm in the desert. All right, so here's what the pre-market looks like. All you guys knew what it looks like, and you guys know how it works. If pretty much this entire drop invalidates, I will be bullish. If we keep going down, I will be bearish. We have some very solid pivots below, not just on NQ, but I have this magical pivot down here, which let me down today on futures trading. This is perfect double bottom all the way down here on ES. So, anyways, here's how the market opened. Now, lately with these market open trades, the win rate form has dropped below 50%, regardless of how the market open candle looks. It's pretty hard for me to stay out of a trade right here. I mean, NQ is a hell of a lot weaker than ES. We are barreling towards these pivots. I understand that we're in demand, but that's one reason to be bullish and I have like 3 to be bearish. It's pretty hard for me to stay out of trade, but next week, I don't think I'm going to take a trades on the market open candle. Of course, next week's probably going to be the 1 week that it works, every single one of them. But my first trade is I did fill these puts half size. Really hard to stay out of them. I mean, NQ's a lot weaker. We have a very strong trend. This candle is massive. Really hard to stay out. Now, I did only enter half size with plans of averaging down, as I do at market open. And I end up needing to average down. Well, we shot up extremely hard. I'm like, okay, well, it's definitely going to get one more green candle, and then I'll take my average down. Insert this candle. What should have happened is I should have stopped out here for a bigger loss. Sorry, not a bigger loss. A slightly smaller loss, but a bigger percent loss. Half size stop out. But the candle moved up so freaking fast. Before I knew it, like 10 seconds into the candle, we were already right here. I'm like, okay, well, I do have this pivot on NQ. It's almost there. It's probably going to get there. I do have a feeling that we are going to sweep and then pull back from the pivot, most likely. So I'll just take my average down at the pivot. Now, in hindsight, I should have stopped earlier. But again, when it's moving that fast and I expect to average down, it's hard to just drop that and just stop out. Sometimes it's not, sometimes it is. This candle was just such a freaking massive candle. It happened so fast. I'm like, welp, we're already here. I'll just take the average down and see what happens. So I did take the average down on this candle. I filled my average down at 37 cents a contract. I'm going to stop out. And I have a very tight stop loss because I'm pretty dang bullish for SPX now. And really, I should be entering SPX calls on this candle. So that's the one benefit. If I did stop out earlier, I would have been able to get into calls earlier, which would have meant more profits and a slightly smaller loss. Sorry, it's like storming really hard right now. That's distracting. But anyways, yeah, so that was the one thing that happened this morning that could have been better. I averaged out at 37 cents. I ended up cutting it on this candle because I filled my SPX calls here. At the close of this candle, right as the next candle started, I'm triggered in the SPX calls. I did fill them. Fill them half size, a little bit above half size, but I stopped out of my QQQ puts after because NQ was a lot weaker. It's getting selling wicks. I ended up stopping out, not quite on this candle, right at the beginning of the next candle when it was green. I ended up stopping out at 36 cents. I could have stopped out at 41 cents and made a little bit of money back. Pretty much the average down didn't lose me any extra money. And that's kind of what I aim for. If I got a little bit better of a fill, it would have actually made me a little bit back. But the average down didn't end up costing me anything. But that doesn't mean it was, technically a correct thing to do. So that's the one thing I did this morning that's like, shouldn't have happened. Other than that, it's really hard for me to stay out of a trade right here, especially if this market open. Very unlikely if we open like this, it just turns around. But it's been doing it more often lately, so I may just lay off those trades next week completely. So anyways, I'm willing to add on these SPX calls if I get this cup and handle. But we start chopping, and we start putting in selling wicks, and we start invalidating the selling wicks. And I said at 637, said 636, I'm willing to add if we put in a cup and handle, but it's rather unlikely. That was an insane bear trap at market open. And then I said if this red candle invalidates at 637, which is right here, I said if this selling wick invalidates, I'm adding personally. Will be rather heavy in this, and I did do that. And I got a trim right after. So I added a little bit. I was fairly heavy. Trim. Keep in mind, this was a 38% full-size loss, so it was a decent-sized loss. So I trimmed for plus 20% gains right when this PT hit, but I'm looking for this next one. This is a pretty decent pivot up here. Not pretty, it's okay. It's an okay pivot, but really I'm looking for this 30-minute supply to break and NQ to get its life together, right? If NQ invalidates a majority of this drop, it will look so bullish. So right after I trimmed, I said I'm small red on the day now. ES is incredibly strong though, thinking this supply is likely to break. And there it goes. So I sold all besides a runner. I got 54% gains. And then I closed my runner right at the start of this next candle because that is a bearish reversal out of supply. Now, even though it's 50, you guys need to see my, hang on. For you guys in chat, you guys need to see my view outside my window right now. There's literally, where did the world go? There's nothing. I can't, there's literally nothing. All right, hang on. Give me 1 second. Okay, when I stood up, I could actually see a little bit. I'm actually going to send this to the Discord because I just looked up. I'm like, where the heck did the world go? I cannot see anything. And I'm nearly 30 floors up. I'm like 28 floors up or whatever. But keep in mind, in Arizona, there's not towers or anything. So like, if you're even 20 floors up, it's like very high because there's no tall buildings. I'm like the only one outside of Phoenix. All right, look at this. And for you guys watching the recording, I apologize. You guys can just skip this part. Sorry, wasting like 30 seconds of your time, but I just sent in chat. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, so sold that trade plus 54% gains, but I believe I'm actually still slightly red on the day. And that's just because, 38% gains. That was a full-size trade from start to finish. Obviously, I trimmed that and whatnot, so I'm still small red on the day. And that's a pretty bearish liquidity sweep. However, I said if we come back up above 66.92, I'll re-enter calls half size. Because ES is still stronger than NQ, and NQ's been chopping up for a while. I'm not necessarily expecting it to happen, but if we continue invalidating these pullbacks, at some point we're going to get a short squeeze to the upside. NQ to supply maybe to the pre-market high, and ES to break the supply. That's what I'm looking for, because at the top of the supply is a decent pivot as well. It's a much bigger pivot. There's this tiny one right here, but this is a big pivot right here. So that's what I'm thinking. All right, I'll re-enter half size. The last trade was full size. Half size if we invalidate. We pulled back. I'm also thinking puts. If I told you guys in chat, I told you guys in voice this morning, I'm leaning kind of bearish. If we come back down, I still have a feeling that, gosh, this storm is this is actually so distracting. I like cannot focus right now. Anyways, I told you guys I had a feeling I feel like it's gonna come back. NQ is just so dang weak. It's very hard for me to believe that it's not gonna come back down and get those pivots that it missed, right? So, well, safe to say I entered on this candle. I did do that. And I'm just looking for this supply to break. Looking for a short squeeze on NQ. It should happen any second. I trimmed there, but was that it? Yeah, that was it for the trade. There was like a lot of re-enters. So anyways, I sold most of it when this happened. NQ got a higher high. This hit my PT freaking flawlessly. It was beautiful. Got 36% gains, and that officially flipped me green on the day. Now, it was only a half-size trade, so it wasn't that big. But here I said I still feel like NQ may want supply, but these higher highs are getting harder and harder to hold through bullishly. I'll be bullish on NQ to squeeze to the upside if we invalidate this pullback one more time, but I won't be able to re-enter unless we... If I don't do that, I won't be able to re-enter unless we squeeze, then consolidate, then I'll go for pre-market high. So, all right, if we do a solid pullback and invalidate it again, I'll play the game one more time. But 36% gains there. So in recap, since my loss, I got a 54% trade, and then a 36% trade. And I wasn't really planning. I said I'll be bullish for a squeeze if we invalidate this pullback again, but I wasn't really planning on entering. Like I just said, I plan on entering a little bit more if we kind of squeeze to the upside, break out of this broadening top that we're doing, and then consolidate. That's what I'd like to enter. But then this happened. NQ pulled back. We got a lower low with buying wicks and then shot up. And I filled QQQ calls here because it looked like it started flipping stronger. I was wrong. It didn't end up flipping stronger. It looked like it for the bit, though, so it wasn't terrible. Anyways, I filled here. Or not here. I filled a little bit into the next candle. Let me actually confirm. This candle here. I actually got a bad fill. Right here. So, pretty bullish for a short squeeze because, you know, if we keep invalidating, if shorts keep entering the market and they keep getting invalidated, those shorts at some point are going to squeeze, right? And how many times, especially on NQ, have shorts got in, pull back, shorts got in, pull back, shorts get in, pull back, but we keep coming up and up and up and up. At some point, they're going to squeeze. That's just what happens, right? The key here is all the higher highs, which are typically very bearish because it's a lot of shorts entering, it's people taking profits. But look at these candles. All of these candles are solid reversal candles, except kind of that one, but it's still okay. Solid reversal candles, but somehow we keep coming all the way back up and invalidating them. And now, not only did we invalidate it, but we made two oscillations. We made a lower low before coming back up. I'm bullish for a short squeeze here, and that's why I entered. So I entered the 597 calls at 81 cents at half size. I was betting against the rising wedge, which made it a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more risky, but it worked out. So it was beautiful. Took heavy profits here. And I moved up my stop loss for the last little bit. See if we can get the pre-market high. And we did not. And I was out. But anyways, I got 23% gains here. Nothing huge, but again, just adding to the wins. That's 3 trades so far. Yeah, that's 3 green trades in a row so far from the first loss. And that is one hell of a bearish liquidity sweep. That is an awesome supply rejection. Honestly, if we didn't have this huge pivot here in supply, I would have traded this supply rejection. I mean, this is beautiful. Beautiful liquidity sweep, beautiful supply rejection. We get a volume spike in that supply. And by the way, if you're interested in the supply and demand masterclass, there's still room. DM me for that. It's happening this Sunday. I'm not reteaching this topic until next summer. So it's kind of now or never to attend it live. Anyways, so you guys know where I'm at. I'm starting to think, okay, at first I was like, okay, if we come back up again, I'll re-enter for this pivot, but clearly this is bearish, and now I'm starting to get in bear mode. We invalidated a majority of this run here, and I'm starting to flip bearish. Triggered in on this candle. So I filled on this candle right after I filled. Again, I try to wait for my candles to close. I enter roughly around the last 10-second mark, 10 to 5 seconds. So you guys still have a chance to enter before the candle closed. This candle actually entered later because I wanted to see if the buying wick invalidated, and it mostly did. But this one I filled right at the end of the candle, so the next candle to dump. But anyways, I filled these puts. 74 cents. And we were kind of chopping. Here's a new low day, solid trim point. I personally didn't trim anything there. Unfortunately, we did bounce. No, I trimmed here. First pivot hit. I'm looking for the second pivot, though. And then possibly ES new low of day. And then we get this. So I pretty much sold here personally because this was kind of my PT. I was looking for this double pivot. I didn't really want to be that greedy and go for this bottom one. I assume when it got to this one, ES was going to sweep low of day and NQ was going to sweep this. After I sold, because I sold right when it got there, right? I'm trying to time it correctly. NQ put in a perfect double bottom. So I closed for, I don't know what it was. It was right around 50% gains on this trade. So another solid winner. But then we put in a perfect double bottom. And not only that, but we bounced. So I told you guys, I am very bullish for perfect double bottom break. I'm bearish. Already pretty bearish if ES is a perfect double bottom, which is this one down here, which I did not make any money on today, unfortunately, futures trading. But NQ perfect bottoms and perfect tops are a lot rarer. So I told you guys, I'm scaling back into puts on this bounce. Now, I didn't end up getting to a heavy size or anything like that. Because it never got swept higher highs and the risk toward was terrible. But I did scale back into some puts and added some on this bounce. And when it did come down here, I did make a decent extra bit of money. And then it kept going down a decent bit. The runner went all the way down here. Now, we did barely miss this pivot here, which brings me into my futures trading, because futures trading was all about this pivot, and I got scammed today. The million demand zones ended up winning, unfortunately. But this pivot lives. So for all of you guys that are watching the recording or attending this, mark out this 66.57 level on your chart. This needs to break. It is truly a miracle that it did not already break today. I lost money going for it twice. Both the trades were very high probability, so there was a very low chance that it did not break today, and it did not. So mark that level on your chart. If I am blessed enough to have that level still exist by Monday, which means it hasn't broken by Monday, I will make more than likely a lot of money on that level. So mark that out. But anyways, that last trade ended up going 131% gains. It actually got a little bit further than that. And that was pretty much my day on options. Stopped trading options there because I am out of time. I only trade for the first hour. And then proceeded to go 0-2 on futures because this perfect bottom didn't break. It got close quite a few times, but absolute scam today for the second hour. Look at this. You can't make this up. Look at this, just this chop here. And that finally broke to the upside, but by then I was pretty much done trading futures. Look at this. Couldn't do anything with it. But of course, we still have perfect psychology regardless. Honor our stop losses no matter what. We are hyper disciplined and we never blow accounts because of it. We pretty much only make money over the long term. But yeah, that was my day. So in recap, we start off the day minus 38%. That was the only trade that there was an error. It should have just been cut earlier. That would have allowed me to get into calls a little bit earlier. But again, it happened so fast that was easy to do in hindsight, difficult to do live. So start off minus 38%. Second trade got to plus 54%. Third trade got to plus 36%. Fourth trade plus 23%. And then fifth trade plus 131% on that runner position. And it was still going at the time. So yeah, it ended up being a pretty good morning. Pretty solid way to end the week off, options wise. But with that being said, does anyone have any questions regarding any of the options trades that I took or analysis from the first hour? Oh, everyone's good? All right, sweet. Well, I'm going to cut this screen recording and post to my channel right now. I'll let you guys know when I do so. And for you people that I won't talk to or see again, I'll see you guys bright and early Monday morning. Hopefully have another solid green week.